What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 64 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Konu.
And as always, we've got Ray with us. Today is Tuesday, July 13th. It's the day of the All-Star game. We had the home run derby last night. That was fun. I enjoyed it, had a good time. Did not expect Trey Mancini to do what he did, but that was awesome to watch and a great story for him. But Pete Alonso, I don't think, was going to let anyone take away his crown as the home run derby champ. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only fun part for me was Soto and Ohtani after that.
That was really the best round. Me and my brother were talking about it.
Last time it was like Vladimir and Jock. That was the best round.
Yeah, me and my brother were talking about it. Like, it kind of sucks. Like, it's cool that they do the head-to-heads, but it also kind of sucks because, like, Soto and Ohtani both should have moved on to the next round because they had, like, the most home runs.
So should have Salvador Perez because he had like 28, but since fucking Pete Alonso had 88 of them, it didn't matter.
Yeah, so I kind of wish they would do like maybe the top if you have 8, the top 4 move on, because then you really get like the best versus the head-to-head. But it was still that Ohtani Soto round was a ton of fun. Soto freaking came out and dominated that swing off. But other than that, we don't have a whole lot to talk about, but we will really quickly. Happy birthday to Cody Bellinger. It's his birthday today, and apparently he is also going to be a dad. So his girlfriend said happy birthday to my baby daddy on Instagram today. I think that caught everyone off guard, but we've seen some of these guys come through with that dad power. So good luck to them and congratulations to them, and hopefully we see Cody Bellinger get some hits on the diamond and
he already has a lot of power too, so that might be a little scary.
That dad power is gonna lock in. There's enough time left this season. Hopefully this will get him going because we could use his bat heating up right about now. But since our last recording, obviously we recorded last Thursday after the Marlins game, so we didn't really have a whole lot to really go over these last 3 days, but the Dodgers did go 2-1. We both predicted a sweep. They should have swept, but they played some garbage baseball, one of those games. That Friday. Not a good game. That's what it was. Took me a second to get that going, but in their
wasn't a good game. And Dave Roberts didn't want to win the game either, apparently.
No, he threw it Uceta in and said, fuck it, I don't care. Last 10, the Dodgers went 6-4. Second place, they're 2 games back, but now they do have the best run differential in baseball thanks to that Saturday game where they just absolutely destroyed the Diamondbacks. But on Friday's day, before Friday's game, we got more bad news on the pitcher front of things. They placed Jimmy Nelson on the 10-day IL with a left lumbar strain, and they recalled Vesia. And then, of course, the very next day, Uceta got put on the 10-day IL with a left lumbar strain, and they recalled Rex. So don't know what's going on, but these injuries just never seem to be ending with this team. Hopefully Nelson's is just a quick 10-day. It's retroactive to July 7th, so he can be back shortly after the All-Star break. So hopefully nothing too bad. Dodgers had the bullpen game / let's start making David Price a starter game on Friday versus whoever the hell Widener is. I don't even know who that guy is. But he freaking held us to because we lost 5-2. One thing I did want to ask.
He's been pitching pretty well those last month and a half. So
Widener?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know who he was. But it is the game they were trying to stretch out Price. He did get hit around a bit in those 3 innings that he pitched, but he was able to work around it. Didn't give up a run. And then we saw Darian Nunez make his MLB debut. That was the one that we said kind of comped a little bit to Aroldis Chapman. And seeing him pitch, I definitely saw it in the
wind-up.
Yeah, the wind-up.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, it looks exactly like him. He came in.
Stuff isn't as good, but his wind-up is definitely the same.
I wanted to ask you, because he came in the top of the 4th, made his MLB debut, 1-2-3 inning, looked really good, 1 strikeout. Top of the 5th, kind of not necessarily his fault away because Ahmed reached on an error by Turner, and then he stole 3rd, and then Escobar had that 2-run home run. So it really could have just been a 1-run day for him. But I wanted to ask what you saw from Nunez.
I thought he looked good, actually. I thought he located his fastball pretty well. And he got the Diamondbacks to chase a lot of changeups that were way out of the zone. Like you mentioned, the error by Turner definitely hurt him. And then the pitch to Escobar wasn't even a bad pitch. He was like 97 up and away, and Escobar apparently got enough of it to get out. So you have to give Escobar credit there. It was probably lucky, but I mean, there's nothing Nunez could do about it. I thought that Friday game he looked really good, actually.
Yeah, I was at the game, and I was sitting in the pavilion, so it was a little bit harder to really watch what he was doing, but I really liked that first inning from him. And anytime a guy makes his MLB debut, it's just always a good time, especially when you're at the stadium. It seems like fans always get behind him a little bit more. And unfortunately, the sloppy defense continued into the next inning. Into the seventh inning when Kelly came into pitch. He did walk a guy. However, Escobar reached on an error by Muncy. Muncy should have had that ball. Don't know if they would have turned the double play on it, but they at least would have got one out. Hopefully the lead runner at second.
This damn NFL defense is corrupting Muncie now.
Yeah, and Muncy's been really, really good. He's not usually one
Really
to make
good.
an error. So that was something we're not used to seeing. And then Kelly hit Walker. Seems like that's kind of been Kelly's downfall this year. In the past, we were used to like, he just couldn't hit the zone, and now he just seems to hit a guy almost every time. It feels like he hits a guy every time he's out there.
It was really close to, yeah.
Yeah, and then Peralta
He's always
had
been
that
that way.
Infield base hit that Lux got to, but unfortunately couldn't do anything with it. I had heard a couple people kind of like getting on Lux for that play. Again, I was at the game in the outfield, so it's a little bit harder to see, especially when
there was nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, I
Even
think
if he stopped to turn and throw, he still would have been safe. So that flip was his best shot.
I think too, it's one of those plays that he kept the ball in the infield, so it holds the guy up at third. Doesn't allow any. I mean, it did give up a run, but it's better than it allowing two. Sometimes your infielders just need to get in front of the ball and keep it in the infield.
And at least it didn't kick off his glove like it's been doing for the last 3 weeks. So
yeah, looking for any improvement right now with this team. They kept the game close. It was a 1-run game until the 9th when Roberts brought in Uceta. Don't really know what the thought process was there. Roberts been making quite a few questionable. I mean, I know his whole career people have not been a big fan of Roberts. I had like really started to see it a lot more this year. Granted, the options are a little bit thinner with how many injuries there were, but I feel like why not, if you're gonna bring Reed in at some point, why not just bring Reed in from the get-go? Like, why even bring Uceta in and like give him a chance to blow it up? Because the dude, I mean, he had 3 walks and a base hit.
So yeah, I did. Usually in those situations, the manager will go to their closer to either keep it at the 1-run deficit or keep it tied. In this case, it was a 1-run deficit, so I'm not sure why Jansen wasn't in there. Reed probably would have been a better option as well. It's maddening watching Roberts continue to put players in positions for them to fail. Like, your job is to put them in positions to succeed, and you're not doing that. It's working my last nerve, and I'm not blaming Uceta because he shouldn't be here. He probably knows he shouldn't be here. He's probably doing the best he can. He needs some more AAA tune-up and seasoning, and he hasn't been able to get that because he's been up and down. And it's just not working here, and they just continue to throw him out there for no reason at all. So
yeah, and it's unfortunate because a lot of people have really turned their back on Uceta, and understandably so. Like I mean, a lot of people get frustrated, but at the same time, I think I mentioned on the last podcast, too many people calling for Uceta's head and saying DFA. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he's only 23. Like, he should not be up here. He should still be in AAA, refining his stuff, working on it. Right now, literally just came through. The Dodgers claimed right-handed pitcher Jimmy Sherfy off waivers from the Giants and designated right-handed pitcher Bobby Wall for assignment. That just came through right now from a Dodger insider.
Okay, well, Sherfy's ass, so that's interesting.
They're just, I think at this point, they're just like picking people and hoping they can
hoping one of them sticks.
Yeah, they can do something.
Bigford sticks, right?
Yeah, Bigford's been a ton of fun to watch out there. I'm enjoying it. I like what he's doing. I wish we had our healthy guys, but Bigford has shown up.
Also, I did want to say, you mentioned that Vesia called up and he actually pitched that game. He threw a lot of strikes that game. He couldn't quite put hitters away, but it was nice to see him throw strikes because when he was up before, it was like a ton of balls. His command was all over the place. He needs to have better command with his fastball, not throw the ball over the middle. But he didn't give up any runs. And, I mean, again, he was throwing strikes, and that's something we look for.
Yeah, and that's really been the younger guys' downfall this year. Like, Uceta gave up the 3 walks in that top of the 9th. Vesia, when he was getting called up, was walking guys. Clevenger was hitting guys or walking guys. So it's really just about these guys finding their command and hitting the zone. And then I think they'll be good to go. So it was nice to see that from Vesia, especially with how much he struggled last time he was up. Then he got sent back down and was just freaking dominating in AAA, striking out everyone. So like you said, didn't necessarily get a lot of guys, but he's hitting the zone. So he just got to keep working on his stuff. And with time, I think he'll get there. Saturday, my God, hell of a game. Walker Buehler was on the mound versus left-handed pitcher Smith. Lefties, no matter who they are, tend to be our downfall, but that was not the case. The Dodgers just went off, put up 22 runs. They had scored, what was it?
Sorry to cut you off, but I feel like that's 3 pretty decent games against lefties back to back. Like they did pretty well against Corbin. Taylor Rogers was okay, but he wasn't as good as he usually is.
They did better against Rogers than I expected them to.
Yeah.
So
and then they teed off on Smith. So I mean, hopefully it's a sign of things to turn around because they can't hit lefties. But I've been really happy with the last 3 games against left-handed starters.
Yeah, they're doing really well. Good at bats, taking their walks. Betts led the game off with a leadoff walk, and then it just kept going. Muncy had a double. Not that Muncy ever really struggles against lefties, or right, but Muncy had the double off the lefty. Then Bellinger, a 2-out, 2-run home run off a lefty. That was beautiful to see because he has been struggling quite a bit since coming back from his injury. And then Pollock capped the inning off with a solo home run himself. And then same thing, bottom of the second, kept it going. Buehler leadoff single, more walks. And then Turner hit a grand slam to give him a 9-0 lead in that second inning. And that was actually Turner's first career grand slam, which is kind of wild to think about. But they kept it going. It was kind of funny because they scored 9 runs in those first 2 innings, and then they didn't score again until the 7th.
Yeah.
Until the 7th and 8th, but they just they went off again in the 7th and 8th. It wasn't just 1 or 2 runs. They went and scored 7 in the 7th inning with a Betts grand slam, McKinstry 2-run home run, and then Pujols' home run. And then again in the bottom of the 8th, Pollock with his second home run of the game. Lux tripled. And that was fun. I'm glad they were stepping on the Dbacks throats and wasn't oh, it's 18-1. Let's hold the runner. They were no, we're clearing the bases on this triple from Lux. And then Pujols jacked a ball off Josh Reddick, and that just the stadium exploded. The stadium went nuts when Pujols hit that because he knew it was gone off the bat. Everyone knew it was gone. Reddick was getting hit with cheater chants all night, nonstop. The stadium was rowdy Saturday night. It was so much. That's probably the best game I have ever been to. Seeing something like that in person was just, especially from the very beginning of the game. It didn't all just happen at the end. From the second inning, I was comfortable about just let me enjoy this game. It's 9-0. Nothing bad is going to happen. And the stadium was nuts that night. It was so much fun. But man, Pujols' 2-run home run off Reddick was the icing on the cake because fuck that guy, Reddick. That is fuck Josh Reddick.
That might have been the best part of the night for me was Pujols' home run off of Reddick. And I was sitting here with my roommates and we were Pujols is dead ass trying to catch A-Rod in this one game alone. It was nice.
yeah. Pujols now I think it's 675 home runs. And it was a wild game all around. The Dodgers tied their franchise record with 8 home runs. It's the most runs the Dodgers have ever scored at Dodger Stadium, and it's tied for the most runs the organization has ever scored since moving to LA. Brooklyn holds the organization record with 25 runs, and then they're the first team in history to hit 8 home runs, 2 grand slams, and 2 separate sets of back-to-back home runs in one season. Let alone they did this in one game, and that was from Stats by Stats on Twitter. So it was just it was a fun game.
Slam Diego shit can stop. The Dodgers are
whatever. Yeah,
the slam capital of baseball.
There's a Los Slamgelus t-shirt going around, and I'm just having a really hard time getting behind it because the San Diego fans are just absolutely tearing Dodger fans apart. The Dodgers own it when it comes to grand slams. So I mean that we are absolutely, I think, what is that, 8 grand slams on the season? I want to say 8 or 9, and Lux has 2 of them. I think Lux is the only one with 2. Everyone else has 1. So everybody's hitting grand slams on this team. They have 7 players with a grand slam this season, which is just absolutely nuts. But man, did you have the volume on for that game? I know you don't usually listen.
No? I did not.
Yeah.
I was watching things with my roommates, but still checking into the game.
I mean,
and
it
just
wasn't
hit
Joe
after hit
Davis
after hit
anyway.
after
So
hit. And I was like, oh, it wasn't. Well, I mean, I feel like when I have checked in or turned on the volume, it's been that the super boring guy. I don't remember his name.
yeah, Tim.
Yeah, him. No disrespect to Tim. Seems like a nice guy, but
Yeah,
um,
it's yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
not
it's
working
Joe
for me.
Davis and Oral. Otherwise, I get very frustrated listening to the broadcast. And we did not have Joe Davis and Oral until Sunday, so you didn't miss a whole lot. I think Saturday night. But yeah, no, it was a blast. It was my last game attending in California. I'm finally leaving. Well, tomorrow, Wednesday. So that was the perfect way to cap off
You
my
headed to
games in
Colorado or back
California.
to Minnesota?
No, Minnesota. Gonna
Okay.
head back home for a couple of months. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. The bats were getting it done. They left like Betts in later in the game. They took Taylor out, but this offense was going off. And then
Betts was playing second base.
yeah, that game really just had it all. But of course, as the Dodgers do best, it took them a little bit to get going in that next game on Sunday because, of course, it does. That's what they do. Gonsolin, pretty good game for the most part. Just not very efficient. He only went 4 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk.
He was having Vestia's problem. He was struggling to put hitters away. And that's why his
Yeah,
pitch count was so high. I mean, Turner didn't help him.
yeah, no, more more
But
more bad defense,
yeah.
unfortunately. But it was a good game. I mean, he struck out 6 and only walked 1, so he's making the improvements, but we really need more length from him. Like 83 pitches, you've got to go more than 4 innings. Like 83 pitches through 4 innings is not what this team needs right now, with Kershaw out and obviously everything going on with the starting rotation. So hopefully he can
Yeah.
get it going. It was nice to see Betts hit another home run, have that leadoff home run, kind of keep it going from the night before. And then it hit the bottom of the 8th. And I was like, oh, we're really going to lose back-to-back series to last place teams because we just took that series loss to the Marlins and things were not going well. Shout out to Josh Reddick dropping Turner's ball in right field.
Yes, thank
That
you.
was much appreciated. We could use that. So they tied it up in the bottom of the 8th, and then the bottom of the 9th. I think everyone knows what happens. Pujols led it off with a single. They put Rex into pinch run. McKinstry
Sure.
bunted him over. They decided to intentionally walk Betts, which is not, I don't want to say that's a mistake because like he's Mookie Betts, but to intentionally walk Betts to get to Max Muncy is wild. Because Max Muncy took that disrespect and just pounded it over the right field wall, and that bat flip was one of the most disrespectful things I've ever seen, and I loved it. It was, but
Yeah.
yeah, fun game.
So I mean,
Yeah.
people were saying it was a mistake to walk Betts, but I think Betts might have been the hottest hitter in that series, so it kind of made sense.
I mean, Betts was hot, but definitely got to give it to our guy AJ Pollock. He was out there having his revenge game against the Dbacks. That dude went off. He went off against the Dbacks and even ended up winning friggin' NL Player of the Week. So I mean, the offense all around was really good that series, except for that first game. I liked what I was seeing from a lot of the guys. Everyone was doing it too. Like Lux had that triple. Smith got an RBI by getting hit, so that was nice. He tends to struggle with runners in scoring position,
He
but hey,
does.
he
He
took a
does.
pitch, so I'll take it. Taylor kept it going. Turner caught some luck from Reddick, and Muncy finished it off with that walk-off home run, his 19th home run of the season, and the Dodgers just went into it was a great way to go into the second half of the season. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Taking a series loss against the Diamondbacks would not have been fun. But they found a way to win. Second walk off in the last 2 weeks. They did the one against the Cubs. So hopefully I think this is the first time that they actually came back and won after being down going into the 8th inning. They have not had any. They were like 0 for 26 this season going into 8th inning while losing or trailing. So it's been ugly on that front. They're one of the worst teams when it comes to 1-run games. They seem to lose a lot of close games, which I think is a good sign. Once we get our offense back and get our pitching going, those 1-run games will turn things around, especially when we get someone like Seeger back in the lineup. So I don't know if you have any final thoughts on that series. We'll talk about in a minute what we're hoping to see in the second half, but that finishes off the first half of the season.
No, but you're right. Pollock was the hottest hitter. I completely forgot that he had like a 5-hit game. Yeah, Pollock had 7 hits. Betts had 5. Was the second most. And
Yeah.
I think
No,
Turner
Betts had a great
has,
series, but Pollock just every time he
yeah,
plays the D-backs, he goes
yeah,
off,
yeah, yeah.
especially at Dodger Stadium. Like the dude finds a way to go off. Like I said, he was named the NL Player of the Week. He slashed 391, 462 with a he slugged 1.043 and his OPS was 1500. 4 home runs and 3 doubles. So congrats to Pollock. I had said to you yesterday, if that dude gets going, the bottom half of the lineup is going to be in good shape with Seeger coming back. Just waiting on Belly to kind of get going, and this offense is definitely capable of putting up a lopsided number on a lot of these pitchers the rest of the season if they kind of show up the way we expect them to. But since we are in July, there are the obvious things we have to talk about, which we briefly mentioned the last week, trade targets. So we have some potential trade targets that we are both interested in. You have a couple more than I do just because you enjoy this a lot more than I do. I don't pay attention to too much about what's going on around the league. So my picks are kind of just the more obvious ones, I think, while you have some that maybe not as many people are talking about. So if you want to start off, since you have more, give me your first one.
Yeah, okay, well, I didn't put him in any order. I just went from what I was thinking about. So the first one I had was Jose Berrios. Might be unlikely. He's had like a semi-rough year, but he's still a really good pitcher. Lefties are giving him a hard time. But if you look deeper at like his pitch mix, there are definitely fixes in there, and we obviously know the Dodgers are good at fixing like pitch sequencing and things like that. So his changeup is really stifle left-handed hitters, but he's not throwing it enough. So if he mixes in the change more and he gets the fastball into lefties instead of out over the plate, he's going to be really good. He's still only 27, so it's likely going to cost a lot. He's good to go 6 innings, which is something the Dodgers desperately need right now. So I saw some people or I talked to some people and they were like, "Oh, well, he's no better than Urias," and I'm like, "He's actually still better than Urias, and with a few tweaks, he could be better." So it's definitely an improvement.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that like a new kind of environment might do him some well. Get some help with pitching coach, kind of get that going a bit. I think he could be a really good piece. I think, like you said, the biggest concern with him is he just might be a little bit pricey because he's still got some time left on his contract and he's only 27. So it would depend on what the Dodgers are looking to do. If we seem to talk about this almost every week, at least on Twitter, like what the hell are they going to do with Kyber Ruiz? If they're going to ship him off, like maybe the Twins are the type of place that you use him as a top prospect and he can kind of go over there and be used as a big piece in that return. And it doesn't really hurt the Dodgers that much because they have so much catching depth. But I think everyone is on the same page that you've kind of got to go for a starting pitcher right now. In mine, I feel like it's a pretty obvious choice, but I went with Max Scherzer just because he's a guy that's going to give him length. He's good. He's a competitor. He's a veteran. And he's having a good season. He got a little bit blown up by the Padres in that last start, but he still got a 2.66 ERA on the season. And I mean, I've always liked the guy. I just think right now with him is the Nationals are still kind of in it because the NL East is all beating up on each other. So I don't know how available Scherzer will actually be.
Yeah, and
Plus,
with I'm sure he's going to get into it later, but with the unfortunate injury to a Brave superstar, the Braves are going to falter maybe.
yeah. So that makes that a little bit easier. And the Mets can always Mets and screw things up. So I think they're still sitting at the top of the division right now. So
Yeah.
plus Scherzer does have a no trade clause. And I have read that he doesn't want to be traded unless he knows there's an extension coming with whatever team he is going to be traded to. But I jokingly said yesterday, Roberts chose Scherzer as the starting pitcher for the All-Star game. And I had jokingly said on Twitter, like Roberts is kind of planting the seed, like giving Scherzer that start, kind of like getting him, maybe that'll get him to waive that no trade clause so he could come to LA. But I don't know
You
if
weren't the only one, trust me. There's
oh,
a
I
lot of
know.
people in that same thinking.
I don't know if the Nats are going to easily sell him off either. Especially if they're still in the race. Plus that guy everyone views him as a national. So we'll see what happens. Who else did you have on your list?
Sonny Gray. Unfortunately, he's often injured, but I mean, when he's healthy, he's so damn good. His walk rate is down this year. Strikeout rate's about the same the last few years. Could give you close to 6 innings each night. Much like Berrios, he keeps the ball on the ground at a really good rate. But because of the injuries, it's probably not worth it for the Dodgers. But I mean, if he's healthy, he would help the Dodgers tremendously. Probably the one to help the Dodgers the most out of the people I have.
Yeah, I've always liked Sonny Gray. He's just so up and down. I think it'd be cool though. Get him with Bueller. Get him with Price. The Vandy boys might kind of help push him through the next level. I know those guys are super competitive. He is injured, like you mentioned, and he does have another year left on his contract where he's owed $10 million. So he's not even really that pricey, but and then it looks like there's an option, a club option for 2023, and he's only, God, I feel like he's been in the, I didn't even, he's 31 too. Like as long as it feels like he's been in the league, I thought he was maybe like 33, 34 already, but he's signed through his age 32 season. So that would be an interesting one. The only thing is kind of like what you mentioned is with him being often injured, like that's a little bit concerning only because the Dodgers are dealing with so many injuries themselves. If they traded for someone, but I think the Reds might, I think are still somewhat in the wild card race. Maybe, I don't know. I keep hearing them being talked
I
about,
think they're like
but I
there's
don't.
like 7 games back of the Brewers, and they can't be that much closer to the wild card because the Dodgers and Padres are better than
Yeah,
anybody
the
else.
way the NL West is going, I don't think I have a feeling it's going to be an NL West wild card. Whether it's the Giants, Padres, Dodgers, Giants. I mean, the way Padres are playing, I don't see them taking the division. But yeah, like I said, always been a big fan of Sonny Gray, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But my last one was because, like I said, I'm not great at this. I would be interested in Kimbrel just because he's having a hell of a season, and whoever their dude is had just come out and said, Jed or whatever, had just come out and said that they are now sellers. They had the no hit curse, so they've
Yeah,
completely fallen off.
I'm actually kind of surprised you didn't say the person who you mentioned to me in a text message because
Who?
Cleveland's supposed to be kind of selling Zach Plesac.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have a feeling he's gonna be expensive. Like that's a dude that,
Probably.
yeah, that's the only thing with him being younger. I do like Zach Plesac. I also think he's hurt right now. So don't know about that there. But with
I
Kimbrel,
think he's back from the IL.
is he? Okay.
He's back
Um
from that freak finger.
Oh, that's right, because he ripped his he ripped his jersey off
Yeah.
and he hurt his finger. Oh God, these freaking professional athletes. But he is owed, I mean, 16 million this year, so probably 8 million or so left on. And then he has a vesting option in 2022. But he also has the buyout for 2022. So I mean, I don't know a whole ton about vesting options, but I mean, dude has had a hell of a year.
Yeah.
Just total bounce back. He has a .57 ERA this year over, what is it, 31 innings. So he's only given up 11 hits and he struck out 54 guys, which is just absolutely insane. His whip is 0.663. So I'm more focused on starters because of guys like Gonsolin, Urias. We know they can play in the bullpen, and I think our bullpen guys are going to come back sooner than than fixing the starting rotation. Like we believe Knable's going to be back. I'm sure Nelson's going to be back, so that's two pieces. So the bullpen isn't as big of a concern, but Jansen has been great this year, but with the years past, you just never know what's going to happen and what's going to stay.
He's starting to show signs too.
And if we had like a guy who was absolutely shut down and could come in and give us that option on days where either Jansen or Trinan aren't available, I think Kimbrel would be a very interesting option.
Yeah, I didn't even look at bullpen pieces, but he would definitely help the bullpen a lot because I mean I feel like they've been better than what people think they are, but they've been overused. So getting someone else to help them would definitely be nice. But for my next person, I went Matthew Boyd from the Tigers. Averages a little over 5 innings a start. He doesn't strike out many batters at all. But what he does well is he does a good job at getting batters to chase pitches, and he limits hard contact, limits barrels. And like the other two pitches I mentioned, he gets a lot of ground balls. I think he could even be better with his pitch mix as well, throwing the changeup a little more. Uh, I feel like he's throwing his fastball too much, and his fastball going like 92, 93 miles an hour. So if he starts throwing his off speed and breaking pitches a little more, I think his pitch mix, I think that will help really well. I mean, he's doing well so far this year. I think his ERA is like 3.44. But he's another solid option who generates weak contact and gets ground balls. Ground balls are probably a problem with this infield defense, but you have to take your chances.
Yeah, he's another one that might cost a tiny bit just because he's got one more year of arbitration, but I don't think it'd be too much to take from the Tigers, especially with the Tigers and kind of their younger team getting up and building. I don't think they're going to be taking over the AL Central next year, so he's really not going to be of much use to them unless they're wanting to use him around their younger players, but I don't think he's really all that important of a guy. However, he is on the 10-day IL due to left arm discomfort. So, I mean, everyone in baseball is dropping like flies right now. So it seems like it's hard to find anyone that's not injured for the time being or hasn't been injured at some point this season.
Pretty much.
And then I think you had one more guy?
I did. It's John Gray from the Rockies. Now, this is probably unlikely because the Rockies just aren't likely to give him to the Dodgers. But he's been extremely good at missing barrels. He's good at limiting hard contact. He's yet another ground ball pitcher. He's actually probably the best of the bunch this year. And this is going to be another case of the Dodgers changing the pitching sequencing and mixes to get a better from him. So against righties, it's mostly all four-seamers and sliders. The slider is definitely his best pitch, but he's throwing the four-seamer too much, and that's what's hurting him. If he mixes in his curve more, that's going to help him a lot. Then against lefties, throwing more changeups will definitely help him because his changeup is actually a really good pitch. He's had two really good starts against the Padres and one bad one. He's had a really good start against the Giants, so he's familiar with the competition and has held his own. So both Grays, John and Sonny, would be my favorite options outside of Scherzer, of course. And also future Dodgers is also on the John Gray hype train, so he sees the vision.
Future Dodgers is always a good follow for this kind of stuff because he has a good eye for that. Good news about Gray is he would be a rental, and I think the Rockies are really working on, well, I don't know if they're truly trying to rebuild or not, but everyone knows Story will end up being traded, so they have no shot at playoff position whatsoever. So them selling someone off like Gray for not even that expensive would not be shocking whatsoever. But I think you mentioned it yourself, selling off to the NL West is probably, especially the Dodgers, was probably not at the top of their list. So
Yeah,
there's
I think
options.
they're more likely to help the Padres than they are to help the Dodgers.
Yeah, probably. There's options out there. Andrew Friedman, I forget where I saw it. I saw it in an article, but they fully expect him to kind of figure something out and get going. They're going to have no choice. They cannot stick with the team they have now, at least on the pitching side of things.
I saw it from Blake Harris posted it, and then
I just don't know
comments were like, "Oh, that means Scherzer," and I'm like, "That's not what that said at all."
Yeah, no, it just says Friedman is going to do something, which shouldn't be surprising to anyone because that's what Friedman does. He finds a way every trade season. I think we're usually like, oh, we just need one piece, which like maybe is the case here, but it's very different this year because the injuries have been so prominent. But with that, let's talk about what we're hoping to see in the second half. And that actually, my basic thing is I just want to see freaking better defense, and I just want to see you guys stay healthy. I really think that the health is the key to this team getting going. As everyone knows by now, Mookie is skipping the All-Star game because he wants to give his body rest. And I still fully believe this offense gets going when Mookie gets going, because when that man gets on base, he finds a way to score, whether it's stealing bags, his elite base running, whatever it is. He really gets the team going. So he had a good series against the Diamondbacks. I think we need him
to against the Marlins too.
Yeah, I think we need him to kind of find himself. And once he does that, I feel like a lot of the other pieces are going to fall into place. So the biggest thing for me is staying healthy and cleaning up that defense. Because I think the Dodgers have the pieces to do it. And I think with Friedman, they're going to add a piece or two. And that just might be the final push. But I think the biggest thing is stay healthy, play good defense, and just play the way they're capable of. Getting Seeger back is going to be important. Bellinger finding his bat, Muncy's just doing Muncy things, and some of the other guys are kind of finding their way a little bit. McKinstry's been hitting the ball better recently, so Well, better than when he first came off the IL. So they've got to find a way to just play the way that we expect them to. It's not even like play above and beyond. We have guys where like 1 minute Lux is having a good couple weeks and then Mookie's struggling. And so it's like you have the bottom half of the lineup and then the top half is struggling. And then it's like you have Muncy going off and Turner going off, but maybe Smith is struggling with guys in scoring position. So
they're not in
that's it for me.
Like you mentioned, it's top half does well, the bottom half, or the top half's not doing its job, the bottom half is, and then the top half is actually doing good, and the bottom half is not driving them in. So they just have to get on the same page at the same time. So what I noticed in the Diamondback series is a few of the Dodgers were working on like batting mechanics and changing their swing paths. Looks like they're trying to hit the top half of the ball more, but doing it with lift. This is something Pujols did in his prime. This is something that Soto and Tatis Jr. are doing currently, and obviously we know how good those two are. So I think Betts did a really good job of it this series, and top half of the ball, lifting it out to the outfield. So once they do that, clear that up, that should lead to more consistency, and then they can pick a pitch where they can launch, like get under the ball slightly and launch it. So while technically the offense, I think, is still at the top, it is encouraging to see players, trying different things so they could be more consistent. If they're more consistent, then it's not necessarily going to matter what the starting staff and the bullpen are doing. If they're giving up 4 or 5 runs, that's still going to be enough because the offense can easily score 6 or 7 if they're playing consistently. So I'm definitely looking for better at bats from everybody. I would just like to see better approach and concentrated at bats, and I expect that we will. Of course, there are going to be games where they just kind of like look checked out, but it's going to be a lot less than we saw in the first half. So better consistency on offense, and we're definitely going to see that with the return of Seeger. Plus, I think Belly's close. He's just missed a lot of home runs in the last 2 weeks. And then I think the young guys in the lineup, Smith and Lux, will also be better and more consistent. So I like what I've seen as far as their changes in their swing path. And I do think we'll start seeing better production, especially from Smith and runners in scoring position. I've been saying it for a while now. This is going to be the time where Betts is going to hit over 330. And from what I'm seeing, I'm willing to bet that Smith and Lux will also hit over 300 or near 300 over the course of the second half of the season. Now, of course, they'll probably make me look stupid and start out slow, but I think by the end of the season, they will definitely be solid contributors and someone that you can count on more consistently. I would also like to see better defense, but that's probably asking for too much. So I don't know.
Yeah, the defense is a big part of it. It'll stick out even more in October against better teams. So
I will say whatever Rojas said to Lux was, I guess, working because, again, no balls kicked off his glove. He was ranging well, so I guess it was working.
It'll be nice. At least. Hopefully he takes time in the offseason to meet up with some players or someone that can help him kind of figure those things out. Because a lot of times it looks like he's just trying to do too much with the ball before it even gets to him.
He's going too fast.
Yeah, he's
or just moving back to second where he's Gold Glove
elite,
baseman, and then find a better defensive shortstop.
So
sorry, Seeger.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But with that said, just some quick notes. All-Star game, like I said, Mookie decided to skip to allow his body to rest, and Buehler and Turner were named as replacements. Both guys, at least Turner, should have been named way before this. And then Buehler having a great season, so he deserves that as well. And I already mentioned Roberts named Scherzer as the starting pitcher for tonight, and Muncy is batting second at DH. For the second half of the season, for the pitching matchups, Urias will get the start Friday against the Rockies. Buehler will pitch Saturday. They have not announced necessarily who will pitch Sunday, but Price will either open up Sunday or Monday. So we could see Price out there on Sunday or they'll hold him. Yeah, that'd be great. They trade for him. He's already in Colorado. Just tell him to stay there and use him. Some quick injury updates. Kershaw's MRI showed just inflammation. Thank God. Roberts is still unsure when he could return. He played catch on Saturday, but he did tell the media that Kershaw will shut it down over the All-Star break just to give his arm some rest. So hopefully he is back sooner rather than later because we absolutely need him. Corey Seeger is going to Arizona while the team is in Denver over the weekend. He's currently visiting family, but once the team gets back to playing this weekend, Seeger will be in Arizona taking live at bats and playing some simulated games. They're kind of leaving the whole thing up in the air to Seeger, even when it comes to a rehab assignment, which seems a little weird to me. As of now, it sounds like they don't plan on putting him on a rehab assignment, but they're going to, yeah, that's what they're saying. They said they're leaving it up to Seeger. So I don't know what, I don't know what the thought process is at, or if they're just that desperate to get him back in the lineup. So we'll see what
I get that it's going to be a little tough to start the second half, but how about you just go take your ass to AAA, get to like 4 or 5 games worth of at bats, and then come back.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. They literally haven't talked about it except for that. Robert said he hopes he'll be back for the series against the Giants from July 19th to the 22nd, but that they are going to see how he's feeling and take it from there. And then, as we all know, Sunday, the draft started and the Dodgers had, I think it was 20 picks. And I think they're finishing 19. Oh, they're finishing it up today. I want to say is the last day of the draft.
It's done.
Oh, it's done now. I keep sitting. Oh, they're just probably putting out the tweets that are talking about the players. So we're obviously not going to go over every pick, but as you guys know, I'm not a big prospect person. I pay attention to our top guys. Other than that, not a big one. So Konu, give us some of your top ones, just that you're excited to see, interested, and looking forward to in Dodger Blue.
Okay, so in the first round, we should probably start the first round. The first round, the Dodgers selected left-handed pitcher Maddox Bruns. He's actually named Maddox John Bruns after Greg Maddox and John Smoltz. So obviously his parents are big Braves fans. He throws hard, can reach up to 98 miles an hour, but has a lot of command issues, which is something the Dodgers will be looking to correct. In the second round, they took Peter Hubeck, who scouts seem to love. Low 90s fastball, but he commands it well. It's got good spin on it and gets really good break on his curveball. It's been called a metrics pick by scouts, and they just already assume the Dodgers would get the most out of him. So they see him as like a top of the rotation starter, mid-rotation starter, which is pretty good in the third round. So the Dodgers had 9 picks in the first 10 rounds, and they selected 9 pitchers. So this is something they've never done before. And hell, they had 19 total picks, and 17 of them were pitchers. So there was a common theme of getting pitchers this draft. I think the common thing, though, amongst these pitchers is they have rising four-seamers. They're reclamation projects because they have like some command issues. They have upside, but there's present issues with the command. They took Ben Kasparius in the 5th round, and his makeup kind of reminds me of Ryan Pepiot, who's one of the top Dodgers prospect pitchers. He's got a rising four-seam and a fading changeup, much like Pepiot does. He's also a command over stuff guy like Pepiot, but Pepiot's now both, so maybe the Dodgers could do the same for Kasparius. Also, that I found intriguing was the Dodgers took back-to-back relievers in round 7 and 8. They got reliever Ryan Sublett from Texas Tech, and then a closer from Georgia named Ben Harris. Now, scouts say that they could be fast-moving prospects because they're relievers, so we could see them late next year. With how volatile relievers are, the Dodgers desperately need other relievers because they can take as much as they can get.
Yeah, so Dodgers stacking up on that pitching, which you can never, ever go wrong with. Pitchers are always valuable, whether trade pieces or just...
I just think that's their philosophy in the draft, take starting pitchers, and then when it comes to like overseas stuff, get the hitters.
Yeah, that seems to work out pretty well. And the way this team develops and the way we keep seeing guys come out, I am not going to question it. Also, just a little draft fun shout out to Max Muncy 2.0, who got drafted by the A's and born on the same day as our Max Muncy. So looking forward to the Dodgers picking him up in a couple of years when the A's decide to DFA him and he can become a superstar with us. Series look ahead. As we know, we are heading, well, the Dodgers that are there will stay. Got a series against Colorado to begin the second half of the season. It looks like it should be Urias lining up versus right-handed pitcher Senzatella, who's got a 4.58 ERA on the season. Saturday, it's looking like it will be Buehler versus right-handed pitcher Chichi Gonzalez, who has a 5.51 ERA. And then on Sunday, it's looking like TBD, could possibly be Price, maybe Gonsolin, who knows. versus their lefty Friedman, who has a 5.48 ERA. And then they begin a series back at home against the Giants, and there are no starting pitchers announced for that. So this should be a very, very easy series for the Dodgers heading into Colorado. Colorado, they actually do play pretty well at home. I will give them that. Their record so far this season, they're playing well at home, but this pitching just is not good. Senzatella can be good at times. Freeland used to be very good in Colorado. Not sure what happened there, but he's having a rough year. And then obviously with the Giants, we don't have a whole ton of information. So I would have liked our chances with Buehler on the mound versus the Giants. I don't know how I feel about Price or a bullpen game against the Giants. So out of these 4 games, I don't want to say 2-2. 2-2 feels likely. Just because I don't know yet about that Giants game, but I'm going to go 3-1 because it just, I don't know. It could happen. They could sweep the Rockies and lose one, or they lose one to the Rockies and they beat the Giants in that first game. So I'm going to go with 3-1 for over the next 4.
Yeah, I'm also going to go 3-1. That feels good.
And also some good news when it comes to the Giants. I mean, as long as the Dodgers play well, the Dodgers have 7 games against the Giants in July. So it's the perfect time to make that push, take first place back, and kind of put the Giants a little bit in the rearview mirror. So this next 2 weeks over July are going to be very, very important when it comes to the NL West standings. And kind of how things are going to play out. Because that first week of August, we do have 2 games against the Astros, who are playing insane baseball. At least, well, I mean that Yankees series, not so much, but they've been a very, very good team this year. So, and then we're going to have some games against the Padres. So July be a good time to gain some games on the Giants.
So just some quick context on the Rockies' home record. They are 40-51 overall. They are 31-7 at home.
Yeah.
9-34 on the road. So
yeah.
Wait, they're
So
31-7 at home?
yeah, they're
17,
killing it.
31-17, excuse me.
Oh,
9-34 on the road.
Yeah, they're killing it at
Sheesh.
home.
Yeah.
So hopefully the guys that are there, Buehler's pitching Saturday, so it's kind of nice that he's there, letting his body get acclimated. Same with guys like Turner, Muncy over there as well, and Taylor, and having them there kind of get their bodies going, because it's always so tough in Colorado. Hits of the week, I'm gonna be honest, I forgot who I picked, but I definitely did not pick Pollock. I could tell you that right now.
I think you picked Turner or Taylor.
Yeah.
Because they've been the top 2.
Yeah. So, are we gonna do this for next week?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Betts just because I'm gonna feed
That's
into
correct.
this second half.
Same.
All right, so we got Betts, and then if you want to lead us into the minor league minute, and then Ray will finish us off.
Okay, so just very quickly, just like a first half recap of some top prospects in the minor leagues. Jojo Gray, unfortunately, only made 3 appearances in the first half. He pitched 11 innings in total, but he struck out 15, got weak contact, a lot of ground balls. It looked really good when he was out there. Only problem was his shoulder stopped him from still showing why he's the best pitching prospect in the system. Cabero Ruiz has really raised his stock coming off unhealthy seasons. His walk rate is higher than his strikeout rate, actually. He's bearing the ball up well. And at this age in AAA, and a lot of these stats, he's only behind Buster Posey, so that's great company for Ruiz. The first half saw Kyber hit 294 with an OPS of 990, so he's been really great. And I'm interested to see what happens. Hopefully he's still here, because I think it was future Dodgers said that the Dodgers should keep Ruiz, because next year it's likely that they'll have the DH, so Ruiz can catch and Smith can still hit, because he'll be the DH. Michael Busch was invited to the Futures game. He only got 1 at bat in that Futures game, but he smacked a single in the right field. The first half has been a bit up and down for him, but I expect it to be a bit sluggish, because obviously there was no season last year, and then he's jumping directly to AA. But I think he's handling it pretty decently. I expect a better consistency in the second half. He's currently only hitting 223 with an OPS of 790. His walk rate is really high, but his strikeout rate is extremely high as well. So I'm looking for that strikeout rate to get lower. It's at 29%, and I think usually his should probably be at around 19 to 20. So that's a big drop. So looking for him to be better there. Andre Jackson also represented the Dodgers in the Futures game. He came in the 3rd inning. He gave 1 hit, but really nothing else. In the first half of the season, he's pitched 50 innings to an ERA of 3.78. Not great, but it isn't bad either. He's got a really good strikeout rate, and he's also walking batters at a really low rate. His problem is he just gets pitches too over in the zone. So he's throwing strikes, but the pitches are obviously very hittable. Ryan Pepiot has been the best pitcher in the Dodgers system this year. Not even close. So he's pitched 45 and 2/3 innings to an ERA of 1.77. He's been nothing but exceptional in the minor leagues for the Dodgers in his short career. I mean, he's only pitched 69 combined innings, but his ERA is 1.86 with a strikeout percentage of 36.5, which is fucking insane. So I'm looking for him to actually be in AAA in the second half because I expect Jojo to get a call up sooner or later. And I think Pepiot could take his spot in the rotation. Bobby Miller has been impressive in his debut this season, showcasing fastballs that can reach 98, 99 miles an hour. His two-seamer that runs back over the corners to lefties at 94 and 96. He's got a decent changeup to go with a good slider. He's pitched 36 innings to an ERA of 2.48, striking out close to 10 batters per 9 innings. So he has to work on his command a little bit, but he's been really good. Andy Paget is only hitting 226, but he's OPSing at 830 because the dude can flat out hit for power and he draws enough walks. He's also really damn good defensively and has a cannon for an arm. He's like a right-handed Joey Gallo. The reason why his average is so low is because he only has 2 hits in July, but before that he was hitting around 250 and OPSing over 900. He's still only 20 at high A, which is low because I think the average age is like 21, 22. So I'm really looking for him to have a consistent second half. The last time he played a full season in the minors, he had 19 home runs. So far this year, he has 16. So the power is very real, and I cannot wait to continue to watch him.
Yeah, so that is your minor league minute, and we will obviously have that for you guys. I'm assuming they're starting back games this weekend too. I'm guessing they're right back on track.
I think so.
Yeah, sounds about right. So Ray, if you want to finish us off with the MLB news.
Yeah, so Rob Manfred had a press conference today ahead of the All-Star game, and the biggest stuff that came out of that is that shortened doubleheaders, 7-inning doubleheaders, and extra innings rules are not likely part of the future of MLB, which is great to hear from Manfred. And we'll get into the terrible news right away as well. Ronald Acuna is out for the year with a torn right ACL. That is a 9 to 10 month recovery, so it might be tough for him to make opening day next year. The Padres have a trio of pitchers on the IL now. Yu Darvish is on the IL with hip inflammation, Blake Snell with gastroenteritis, and Drew Pomeranz with some left forearm like inflammation. All intended IL.
Wait, what did Blake Snell have?
Gastroenteritis, digestive issues.
Okay.
Yeah. Buster Posey is also on the IL for the Giants with a thumb contusion that he suffered off a foul tip. And as somebody who wears a thumb guard because I've dislocated thumbs like that, it's not fun. And I was going to mention the Max Muncy selection born on the exact same date, August 25th, 2002, which is insane. He is from Thousand Oaks High School. And so the Dodgers will probably sign him in 2027 if that's the correct timeline. Because Zays drafted the other Max Muncy in 2012. They got him in 2018. So yeah. So I look forward to him playing shortstop for us in the early 2030s.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Dodgers always find a way to fleece guys out of their players. So that was all we had for this week. A little bit shorter than usual since it is the All-Star break, but we will be back with you guys next week to talk about that Rockies series and then the start of the Giants series, and hopefully not that the Dodgers have played bad in the first half, but hopefully some much better baseball in the second half, getting ready for that October run.
Definitely need to see more consistency in the second half.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're aiming for. Consistency and staying healthy. That's really all we're asking for, guys. So shouldn't be too much to ask for, but we all know how that goes as baseball fans. As usual, please do not forget to hit that follow, subscribe button wherever it is you listen. Share the podcast with your friends. Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know who your trade targets are for the trade deadline coming up. You can find us at Dodger Yard on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and you can also check out the website, dodgyr.com. Konu has his prospect pieces up there, and we've got some other pieces going out as well. And then you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Randy_Radcliffe.
You can go to allmylinks.com/Konu, Konu, and find my social medias on there.
You can follow me on Twitter at Stingray417.
And then, as always, we hope you guys have a good rest of your morning, night, afternoon, weekend, whenever it is you may hear this. Enjoy the rest of your All-Star break, and we will catch you guys next week. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.